So I just wanted to get started. Um, we're going to talk a little bit about finding your purpose because it's such an important part. And we have a lot of people who are part of the Beyond Boundaries Freedom Frameworks program who are just kind of exploring the idea of maybe starting their own business or identifying kind of what they want their careers to look like. And this is such a fun way to kind of figure that out. Diana and I have spent a lot of time going through all of these different things. Some of we actually took video of us doing some of it, which we sped up because it can take a little bit of time, but it's just such a fun way to figure out where your priorities are and figure out the direction you want to take your career. So I'm going to just get started. Um, it's really important to ensure that you love what you're doing because you spend so much time doing it. And I really have always loved being a BCBA, but I don't always love all aspects of my job. And this process kind of helps you figure out where you belong in the professional world. And you identify those things that you really do love, and you identify those pieces that maybe you don't love. And you can start to, it's called job crafting. Actually, there's a term for it. You start to create a career that is focused primarily on those things that you love to do. So, for example, one of the things that I've always said to staff and parents, I'm like, I always love the supervision. I always love parent training. I love teaching and working with people. What I don't love is the paperwork. And so I talk about it in a lot in relationship to reinforcement. So when I'm trying to explain reinforcement to people, I tell them that there's times when I don't feel like I need any extra reinforcement to do my job. There are things that I would do for free. I would help a parent for free. I would help staff for free. And I often do. I volunteer with a local nonprofit, and I will volunteer my time to do some of those tasks. The parts of my job as a BCBA that I don't enjoy, treatment plans. I hate all of the billing aspect of the job. I hate all of the documentation. I don't like that stuff. And so if I were to create my perfect career, I need reinforcement to get through that junk. But if I were to create my perfect career, what I would do is kind of leave that stuff off and focus on the stuff that I like. And so the whole point of this process is to kind of get to the place where you just love the vast majority of what you're doing. And when you figure that out and you're in a place where you're doing all of the things that you really enjoy, then you start to look forward to Monday mornings. And you're able to commit to the things that you're needing to do. And it leads to better outcomes for your clients if you're choosing to work with clients, or for whatever you're doing, it leads to better results. This process improves your self-awareness so that you're more cued in to paying attention to those tasks that you really enjoy and those that you really don't. And again, it allows you to start crafting your career to head you in the direction where you're most satisfied and fulfilled. It allows you to create balance in your career. And it builds your inspiration. You get to be a lot more creative, and it empowers you to do things that you might not have considered doing otherwise. It helps you make decisions that are very intentional and lead you to the tasks and activities that have the most impact and are most aligned with your purpose. So Ikigai is something that I first heard about on YouTube in a TED Talk. It's a fabulous TED Talk, and I can link to it in the group. It's I forget his name, but the TED Talk is called How to Ikigai. And it's just such a fun way to envision your, so as we go into it, you'll see that it's not really just your purpose, because your purpose is just one piece of Ikigai. Ikigai ends up being a verb. So once we're done with this process, you're going to understand it as a verb. So my Ikigai is to teach. That's where all of this comes together. My Ikigai it just comes down to teach. That's my Ikigai. It's your reason for being is what it translates into. We think of it as your purpose, but again, as we go through this, you'll see that purpose is just a tiny piece of it. They might also consider it your purpose in life. So you start by asking yourself some simple questions. You start with, what do you love? As a BCBA, what aspects of your job do you really enjoy the most? Do you love working with children, families, individuals with special needs? Do you love teaching, analyzing the data, problem solving and developing the treatment plans? Do you love the business side of being a BCBA? Somebody has to. It's definitely not me, but somebody has to. So you have to identify kind of what those pieces are of what you're already doing that you actually love. What lights you up? What do you get excited to do? So I started a program. I connected with an agency in New Hampshire where they were creating trainings for they wanted training for preschool teachers. And my background is as a preschool teacher. And so they wanted me to teach groups of preschool teachers about ABA and how to implement it in their classrooms. And it was literally the most fun I've ever had at work. They came to the clinic and we got to model it. I got to teach them. We were problem solving. It was literally the most fun I had at work ever. So when I think of this step, I picture myself doing that. We had the people who were pursuing BCBA certification, they came to observe a lot of the training and participate. It was just so much fun. So what are those moments for you in what you're already doing? Next, ask yourself, what does the world need? As a BCBA, you are working with clients and families and communities. What do they need from you? If you're working with other staff, if you're working with other agencies, what is it that they need from you? So how can your skills and expertise meet those needs that exist in the community or exist in the world? Then you want to ask yourself, what can you get paid for? Because the whole purpose of this is to identify the reason for being, and we all need an income to survive in this world. That's the reality. So it would be great if I could get paid to paddleboard. I don't think that I can necessarily do that, but I could. I could find a way to get paid to go paddleboarding. I could lead groups. I could do YouTube videos. I could definitely find a way to get paid to do that. We own a boat, and one of the things I love to do is go out and find dolphins. And my husband and I have talked about starting a charter business where we take people out and we go dolphin watching. So there are ways that you can figure out how to earn an income from doing those things that you just love to do. And then ask yourself, what are you good at? So you have skills and abilities that are unique to you and are also super valuable. So think about, do you have really great communication skills? Are you great at problem solving? Are you an amazing leader? What are those skills that you have that bring value to the rest of the world? and even if you're brand new to the field or you're super young, you still have a unique history that led you to the special talents that you have and the interests and abilities that you have. Even a child who's 8 or 9 years old has skills and abilities that other people are going to be interested in or need to learn from. And it might be that the 8 or 9-year-old is teaching something to a 4-year-old. You just, there are people who are where you were 5 years ago. So no matter where you are in your career, you still have skills and abilities that would be valuable to somebody else. And next, you're going to start pulling it all together. And we're going to look at the middle part of this, the Venn diagram. So at the intersection of what you love and what the world needs is your mission. What are the things that you love that the world also needs from you? And then at the intersection of what the world needs from you and what you can get paid for, that's your vocation. What tasks, skills, or activities fall into both of these categories? Then at the intersection of what you can get paid for and what you're good at is your profession. What activities kind of overlap in this section? Then look at the overlap between what you're good at and what you love, and that's your passion. So you're going to identify what activities fall into this area. And then once you have identified the answers to all of these questions, you're going to look for the intersection between all of them, where your mission, your vocation, your profession, and your passion overlap. And that's going to be your Ikigai. Like I said, my Ikigai is to teach. This is going to be a verb. So you're looking for a verb, something that is unique to you. You just need to spend a little bit of time thinking about it, reflecting on it. It's something that's a little bit uncomfortable for some of us, especially those of us who have been in ABA for a while, because we're very often looking forward and not very often looking back. So just take some time to reflect on all of that. I'm going to talk about the ACT matrix next, because I see these intersecting so well. And I find that the ACT matrix is such a great tool to really dive deeper into what you discover by going through the process of finding your Ikigai. I don't know where all of you are in your process of understanding the ACT matrix. I do have some trainings. I'm not going to spend a ton of time going over this. I do have some other trainings available if you're interested. And I do go into it more in the Finding Your Purpose course, which is available in your membership. So you can dig deeper into that. I want to be mindful of the time. So the ACT matrix, real quickly, it's a visual representation where we can start to sort the different experiences, our different experiences, into different categories. And I find this a super helpful way to go through the process of reflecting, because I have a hard time staying focused on reflecting if I don't have some sort of structure around it. What I end up doing is kind of thinking about everything else and not really focused on what I'm intending to reflect on. So there's two intersecting lines. The horizontal line represents the two directions you can go in your life. And then the vertical line represents the separation between your internal experiences and your experiences with your five senses. There's a lot of really great resources out there for ACT. I'm not an expert by any means. I've done a lot of studying around ACT, but there's a ton of really great resources. The Zen therapist on YouTube has some great training on it. I like because he calls it the life map adaptation of the ACT Matrix. And I just think it's a really nice way to kind of tie it into something that's really practical. So, and you're going to start going through the ACT Matrix in the bottom right-hand corner by identifying your values, those things, who and what are important to you. I'm going to go through this really fast because I don't want to take a ton of time. We will go through an example too. And then you're going to move to the lower left quadrant by identifying the obstacles, especially your thoughts, feelings, and memories that prevent you from reaching those things that you value. These obstacles might be things like imposter syndrome or critical supervisor, might be your fear of failure or feeling responsible for something bad that's happened in the past. We're going to continue to move through the ACT matrix by moving to the upper left quadrant and asking the question, what behaviors do you engage in to escape the obstacles you identified in the previous step? So you're going to ask yourself when imposter syndrome comes up, what behaviors do I engage in to find relief from that feeling? And it could be things like scrolling through social media. You might complain to your spouse, so you might drink a glass of wine at the end of the day. You might prioritize less important tasks. And so these aren't always what you might consider bad behaviors. They're just a way of finding relief from those feelings or thoughts or memories. We're not judging any of the behaviors on this as good or bad. You're just simply noticing. You're just going to pay attention to what happens when that feeling comes up. How do you respond and how do you seek relief from that? And then finally, we're going to fill in the top right quadrant with behaviors that you engage in that could bring you closer to the things that you value. So this might be things like taking courses or working with a mentor, or there's a number of different things, reading a book, talking to a friend, things that you can do that bring you closer to those things that you value. And then you're going to ask yourself, if you think you have an opportunity to notice when some of this stuff is coming up. So when you are experiencing some thoughts that are either bringing you closer to the things that you value or maybe pulling you away from those things that you value, and you also take some time to notice the behaviors that you're engaging in when those come up. What are you doing to escape those difficult thoughts, feelings, and memories? And what are you doing when you find yourself getting closer to your goals? So sorting these experiences allows you to observe all of this stuff without judgment. You can notice how they impact your behaviors, and it helps you choose more intentionally the behaviors that you're going to engage in, and hopefully bring you closer to your Ikigai. I do have an example. This is an example of going through the Ikigai for finding my purpose. Oops. I can't go back. Well, hopefully you guys saw it. So you start with the things that you love. And like I said, one of the things that I love is working with the staff and families, and just that meaningful experience for families and staff. How do I being able to impact them in a positive way? So what are you good at? Or what the world needs from you. The world needs a compassionate leader, unique resources. They need me to take cases that other BCBAs won't. That tends to be the thing for me. And they need someone who prioritizes staff and client care over profits. Next, you ask the question, what can you get paid for? And I could get paid for providing consultation, offering supervision, providing resources that I create, and I could get paid for my work with clients and families. And then finally, I ask myself, what am I good at? As a BCBA, I'm good at working with people one-on-one, developing positive relationships, creating written content, and helping learners make progress. My mission is where what I love and what the world needs overlaps. The world needs my unique resources and that I love creating. And so that's one of my missions. I love helping other people, and the world needs a compassionate leader who wants to take the cases that other BCBAs won't, and who prioritize staff and client care over profits. That's another mission that I have. My vocation is where what the world needs and what I can get paid for overlap. For me, this includes providing consultation as a compassionate leader, offering unique resources, and providing services to learners that other BCBAs choose not to work with. It always makes me so sad when somebody refuses to work with a client. So I am always that person who's like, yes, I'll do it. My profession is where what I get paid for and what I'm good at intersect. So for me, this includes providing one-on-one consultation, creating written resources, and building relationships with clients, families, staff, and other professionals. My passion is the intersection of where what I love and what I'm good at. So for me, this might include helping other professionals in a one-on-one environment, creating unique written content, and helping learners make progress. And then my Ikigai is where all of these pieces overlap. I found my purpose in being an independent contractor who works with children and families, providing services and volunteering at the nonprofit that I volunteer with, that provides ADT and vocational services to autistic adults. Again, this is an area where people often don't want to provide services to those individuals. So I show up for that. And I also created Master ABA with my sister. So these activities allow me to give value to the world and allow me to feel fulfilled professionally. So when I look at all of these different things, what overlaps is my teaching. So you can see in all of this stuff that essentially my Ikigai is to teach. I do have kind of a fun example of the ACT Matrix that I did with somebody else. She was trying to figure out what to do with her life and career. And so we went through the ACT Matrix, and she identified the things that she values as feeling useful, serving the world in a positive way. She valued money to support herself and her son. She valued serving people, especially parents and children, as well as professionals and teachers. So her son was an adult, an autistic adult who still needed support. So this is part of why it was so important to her. But she also valued connections with coworkers and being part of something bigger than herself. She said she really wanted to be part of a company with strong values. So the thoughts, feelings, and memories that came up for her that were preventing her from reaching those things that she values were memories of her family's being critical of her. She was a new BCBA, so sometimes the families that she worked with were a little critical of her approach. She strongly felt imposter syndrome. She found the journey with her son was something that actually got in the way, because she was so emotional during parent training that she became less effective as a teacher. And then again, she identified with the parents and the pain they were experiencing to a level that prevented her from actually being able to support them. And then she was unsure if she could connect with a new feeling. So the things that she did, the behavior she engaged in to seek relief from those thoughts, feelings, and memories, is that she quit ABA for a while. She actually left the field altogether. She scheduled mentoring with me, and she would watch TV, and she would nap. So you can see how some of these, I mean, they're not all what you might consider bad behaviors. When she started to feel these things come on, she scheduled a meeting with me so that we could work through it. That's a really positive response that would ultimately, hopefully, bring her closer to her dreams. And then the behaviors that she was engaging in that brought her closer to her values was scheduling mentoring with me, learning from the challenges she experienced, creating opportunities from obstacles, finding a stable income. She could consider working in a school. So these aren't things that she's necessarily doing right now, but things that she was considering. She could research different ABA companies, because again, it was so important for her to be part of something bigger than herself. She had her own business for a long time doing some exam prep work for, not for the BCBA exam, but for other exams. And she could reach out to local universities, and she could consider how to tie her test prep with ABA. So she had a lot of really great ideas, but all of those difficult thoughts, feelings, and memories really got in the way of her being able to reach those things that she valued. So I hope this is helpful. I really encourage you to go through this process and revisit it. I like to go back to it at least every 6 months. I mean, honestly, probably once a year is more realistic for me. But do it however often you can fit in, or whatever makes the most sense for you. I just think it's a really powerful activity, and I wanted to share it with all of you.